Hey, what's up, everyone? I got two things to go over. We have news that new Dead Rising could be happening, and we have some details for Resident Evil 10. So, other than that, let's jump into it. So, first, let's start with Dead Rising. Capcom recently released an update where Dead Rising was listed as one of the leading brands, and they talked about continuing support for their major franchises. Dead Rising was the only thing mentioned either, because they also brought up Mega Man, Devil May Cry, Ace Attorney, and Onimusha. They specifically mentioned things like sequels, remakes, and ports. So that immediately got a lot of fans talking, because we already had rumors back in 2025 that a new Dead Rising game may have been happening, with the story supposedly taking place in Hollywood and Frank West returning. Now I gotta say, Dead Rising is honestly one of the best selling franchises I have ever played. I know some people may disagree because Resident Evil exists, but Dead Rising had a different kind of fun that Resident Evil didn't always have. It wasn't just about shooting zombies, you had rescuing survivors, psychopath boss fights, exploring malls, crafting weapons, and just causing complete chaos. It felt like a zombie sandbox game, and that's what made it special. Now, yes, we did get Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, but honestly, a lot of people just didn't care for it. I never personally played it myself, but after watching gameplay and comparisons, I just couldn't get interested in it. The lighting looked weird in a lot of areas, Frank West didn't really look right, and the new voice acting just didn't feel the same at all. None of the performances really captured what made those characters memorable in the original game. And honestly, I still think Dead Rising 4 is worse, because they removed a lot of things that made the older games fun in the first place. The psychopaths weren't the same, the tone fell off, and the game just didn't feel like classic Dead Rising anymore. That's why I think Capcom should just reboot the series, instead of remaking every single game. As much as I hate saying goodbye to characters like Frank, Chuck, and Nick, I think it may honestly be time for a fresh start. Because if Capcom keeps remaking the games and changing too much stuff, then fans are just going to keep comparing them to the originals. If they do reboot it though, they need to keep what made Dead Rising special. We need malls again. I honestly think the mall setting works way better than the city setting from Dead Rising 3. DR3 wasn't terrible, but something about being trapped inside a giant mall with thousands of zombies just works perfectly for the series. And honestly, if Capcom reboots the series, I could definitely see them making the main character a female this time. That's been happening more often in games lately, and I wouldn't be surprised if they go that route. If they do, maybe the character would have a name ending with a K, like Frank, Chuck, and Nick. Something like Brooke honestly wouldn't surprise me. At the end of the day, though, I just want Dead Rising to be good again. That's all I really care about, whether they reboot it or remake another game. I just don't want another situation like Dead Rising 4. Now let's move on to Resident Evil 10. So keep in mind, none of this is officially confirmed yet, because most of this information comes from insiders and leakers. But according to leaker Step 5 Wonder, the next Resident Evil game will not introduce a brand new character, and instead, Capcom plans on bringing back Claire Redfield. Now, if this ends up being true, I actually think that's a really good idea, because Claire hasn't really been involved much in the recent Resident Evil games. And honestly, it would feel similar to when Leon and Claire were first introduced back in Resident Evil 2, except this time, it would be Claire getting her own major return again. I also wonder what kind of story Capcom would do with her. Maybe she can be infected with some new virus, similar to what happened with Leon in Resident Evil Requiem, or maybe Capcom does something completely different, where she's searching for someone or trapped somewhere trying to survive and escape. Resident Evil has done so many different story ideas over the years that honestly anything is possible. The other interesting thing here is the rumor about new characters being introduced. Usually every Resident Evil game introduces somebody new, whether it's a side character or a major protagonist. So if this rumor is true, maybe Capcom wants to focus more on the returning characters instead of constantly introducing new ones. And honestly, Claire may not even be the only returning character. We could see Jill, Chris, or Rebecca come back too. Leon already returned recently, so I don't know if they will use him again right away. But you never know with Capcom. Another thing that was mentioned is that Resident Evil 10 will obviously use the RE engine, which honestly is not surprising at all. Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil Village, and the remakes all used it, and Capcom clearly loves using that engine for almost all their games now. Now again, because none of this is officially confirmed yet, things could definitely change. The Claire rumor came up false, and Capcom could choose somebody else entirely. Maybe Jill comes back instead, or maybe they actually introduce a new character after all. But regardless, I am really excited for the next Resident Evil game. If Capcom can make the next game as good as the last few Resident Evil games, then I think fans are going to love it. Even though we probably have a long way ahead of us because of the rumored remakes coming first, I still can't wait to see what Capcom reveals in the future. But anyway, let me know what y'all think. Do you think Claire Redfield will return in Resident Evil 10? And what do you think Capcom should do with Dead Rising? Should they reboot it or remake the older games? Let me know down in the comments.